Hey, I'm Ben. Welcome to Circle of Hope Pastors. Videocasts Someone Asked. I'm here in Old Kensington outside. Sorry for the ambient noise if you get it. Rod's down in South Philly. Joshua's rocking it on Frankfurt Ave. And Johnny's at the Hub in Center City where we express our oneness as a church. That's a little, uh, yeah, that's where we're at. But we're coming together virtually to talk about stuff that we get asked, and it's unscripted, and we're kind of letting people into the kind of conversations that we have all the time because we do this a lot. I try to keep it to 9 minutes. I'm in charge of the time, and I'm looking at it right now. And the question we're asking today, or we were asked today, was, what about evolution? What about it? Johnny, why don't you start us off?
Sometimes I do get asked this question, but generally the people that are asking me this are Christians who are wondering what my stance is on evolution. For the most part, when I talk to postmodern millennials, they're kind of graduated from this didactic, dichotomous debate. They might not even be thinking about their origin, and I help them meet. I want them to meet Jesus, kind of regardless of how they're thinking about this. I think mystery. I think there's a lot of ways that God could have created the world, element of that. But I think it's strictly that He created it, and so I don't. I'm open to receiving something from God, and I'll probably ask Him the question at the end of the age here and say, so how did this all happen?
Yeah, in some sense, the whole issue about evolution can get boiled down to what's creation, but I think evolution is like a scientific fact. If Christians hadn't been so afraid of science undermining their capacity back in the 1930s or whatever, we probably wouldn't be still having this topic because they set up a red state, blue state with science and religion supposedly, and I don't even think that exists. So the fact that things evolve, what about that? Is that a big deal?
Well, I
It's
think if you're
amazing
asking,
how that happened.
what's that, Sheet?
I just said it's amazing how that happened. Go ahead.
I was going to add like you're saying, Rod, this question of how things have unfolded is often different than the question of why things unfolded. And when we kind of try to make them the same headspace for like science and spirituality, I think it's good that they can be integrated, but the scientific reasons for like why things have changed the way they are and get into like strange theories about the powerful surviving that gives way to all kinds of scientific racism and things like that that are really dangerous. I think we can fall into a danger of being disintegrated, of thinking like, well, yeah, here's my spiritual journey where I think there is just, whatever the Bible in some sense is true, but also like reality, though, it's not that true.
Yeah, I think that is a big issue, not just for Christians that are having a sort of false dichotomy, but for people that are trying to take the Bible seriously. How do I deal with this? What do you guys say to that? Like, the story's right there in Genesis 1 and 2. What do you say when Rod's saying that evolution is also a scientific fact? How do you help people with that if they want to
Well,
read the Bible?
it's a similar kind of idea. I mean, one philosophy got you to dichotomize science and religion, and another got you to read the Bible like it was a biology textbook. I don't know why anyone would do that to the scripture, or why they would assume that a construct that came thousands of years later should be retroactively applied to read the Bible. The story of creation in Genesis 1 and 2 and the whole is a narrative that leads to Jesus ultimately, not a scientific thesis.
Well,
Yeah,
just to push back on that a little bit, Johnny. I mean, the reason they would do it is because they're a product of the age. How do we help them out? How do we help them do it now?
right. I think Ben's right to ask that because I think people are just being kind of, I don't know, coerced into a major narrative. There's not all scientists are like this, but I think there's scientists that just want the power of having the dominant narrative, and their point is to explain something and to be able to subsume everything under their what do you call it, a rubric maybe, or their theory. So evolution is definitely in that camp these days, so that everything has to become under the evolutionary outlook. I just read a bunch of this last year when I was reading the evolutionary psychology, because there's evolutionary every discipline, and it was hysterical sometimes that they had to try to cram in like the subject of attachment theory or something into how evolution created that. And there is this kind of attack that I think people feel that they do have to figure out what to do about it, because it is a contest.
Yeah, well said, especially the theories that are competing. One thing about even the Genesis accounts that we're talking about, I have a tendency to see those as even separate accounts that talk to each other, that are, from, the diverse group that's putting together these old scriptures. It's beautiful. They have like sequences that might be a little different, or a sense of what was happening with God is nuanced, and people can jump to taking the second one and trying to make it about order and gender hierarchy or something, but they miss the goodness that is really the central point of creation.
Yeah, and what you're doing there, Joshua, is you're discerning with God, like saying what is the central point of creation is the goodness of God, and God creating a good thing. That takes some discernment, I think, and it's a judgment call that might not be like super evident. People have read Genesis 1 and 2 and not come even, that sometimes they don't even like get the idea that there might be like two separate accounts there.
Well, I think it's huge too that the accounts talk about God being personal. There's a person behind creation, not just a chemical reaction. And this is a huge change in about how you even see a human. That makes a big difference about how you actually have a spiritual life. But I think I like to help people figure out that sense of being the image of God rather than just the product of a series of happy accidents. Because it makes a big difference about how you see yourself too.
There's a great scene in the show that just ended called Mad Men, where there are people that are resisting the advertising that's happening on Madison Avenue because they know that toothpaste won't save them. And the ad executive responds to them and says, I hate to break this to you, there is no great cause. The universe is indifferent. And when you begin to think that the world is just a series of random chemical reactions, you begin to think that you don't have a purpose or a meaning besides the one that you can create for yourself. So one reason to even see the world as being created and believe in a creator is because it gives us purpose, meaning, morality, life.
Well, even these big questions, the cosmic questions for science, I feel like the unprocessed or uninitiated scientific mind thinks that science even is about just controlling, categorizing, helping, understanding housebreaking, whereas you get into the, thinking about superclusters and dark matter and the torus void and these things that are like about the universe that we have access to now, even through amazing technology. Science is about wonder, and even science is about maybe trying to try out some theories to see like where this came from, where it's going. But it's theoretical, and it's fun, and it's full of experimentation and humility, as opposed to just saying, well, your religion's stupid because I believe in evolution. I mean, like, that's such a terse thing to say, but it's also kind of rooted in like, oh, you don't have wonder like science that I look into has.
I do think they wonder just how dumb Christians can be, because they end up being so afraid of the whole dialogue, and they have made it seem like if you do anything new, or if you think of a thought that no one thought before, you must be proud and you're probably dangerous. and they have communicated that for what, a couple centuries or more, ever since Galileo got hounded by the Catholic Church. So it's a worthy slap that we keep getting by people who are actually have an open mind.
Well, we obviously
It
have
is
just
hard,
tons to say
so
about this. I'm talking, Johnny. We have,
are you ready
we
to
have
end
tons to
this?
say.
Because we could
We,
talk for a while.
yeah, that's right. We have. I didn't even get to say what my main thing, but I'll just have to tell my cell about it, and you can talk about it in your cell or wherever else you want to talk about it. You can even talk in the comments down below on YouTube, or share it on Facebook and have a conversation there. We're just scratching the surface, and I think we've demonstrated though that we're not afraid of the dialogue. That's the whole point of this whole series, and we want to keep instigating that for our good and the good of our community, and even for those that want to peek in from outside and see what we're talking about. We'll talk to you too. You can share it. Like I said, like it. We love you. Have a good day.